I have my proof. My 28 female husband, 30 male, has been having an affair with a mutual friend, 32 female. Do I confront him or shall I just file for divorce quietly? My 28 female husband, 30 male, has been having an affair with our friend Emma, 32 female. I've suspected something was off ever since lockdown began, but last week, I finally found proof. Before lockdown began, my husband was working increasingly longer hours and was becoming increasingly more distant. We barely saw each other because he would wake up before I did and not come home until after I was already asleep. On the weekends, he would go out with friends. When I asked to come, he always shut it down, saying they were doing things I wouldn't enjoy. Then lockdown began, and he had to work from home, and I finally started to notice how nasty he had become to me. He was constantly criticizing everything I did. His favorite meal wasn't cooked right. The shows I watched were annoying. I took too long in the shower. I wore grandma clothes. I never asked him how his day was. It was endless criticism. We've had a dead bedroom ever since his hours started to increase, but I thought it would change now that we were home all day every day. Didn't. Whenever I tried to initiate, he would turn me down with a disgusted look or a rude remark. I finally snapped and told him I couldn't live like this anymore. If there was something wrong, he either had to tell me now or we would separate because I wasn't prepared to live like this. He started crying and apologizing and said he was so sorry. That the pandemic was getting to him, that he would try to be better. That night, we were intimate for the first time in 8 months. After, he couldn't even look at me, and he had such a guilty look on his face. He couldn't even make eye contact with me. He started avoiding me and hiding in his office. This is when I started suspecting there was someone else. Edit. This was 8 weeks ago. I ended up finally snooping last week when he went to sleep. My husband is a heavy sleeper, so it was easy to use his fingerprint to unlock his phone. I found thousands of texts and emails between them. There was sexting and nudes from her. On the day we had been intimate, my husband had sent Emma a message telling her he couldn't do this anymore, that he didn't know what had overcome him, but he regretted everything that happened between them and he was going to work on his marriage. He asked her not to contact him or me again. Emma sent him messages threatening to expose their affair to me. She claimed he was the love of her life and she couldn't live without him. My husband responded once to tell her I already knew everything so she could tell me if she wanted to. I didn't. I took screenshots of everything and sent the proof to myself. I've been pretending everything is okay for the past week. Whilst inside, I feel like my heart has shattered into a million pieces. My husband has slowly started spending less time in his office, but a guilty look is still glued to his face. I never thought he could do this to me, especially not with someone who was supposed to be my friend. A part of me is so angry, and I just want to scream and rage at them both. The more sensible part of me knows it won't be worth it, and it'll just give Emma the satisfaction she clearly wants. To make things more complicated, I just found out I'm pregnant. My husband doesn't know yet. The bastard didn't even have the decency to wear a condom when he knew he was cheating. Is a confrontation even worth it? Shall I just file for divorce and get it over and done with?
Maybe you should meet a divorce lawyer first and figure out your options. Once he finds out about what you know, he might start burning, deleting, or getting rid of evidence. Now is the critical information gathering stage before everything blows up. First off, I just want to say I am really sorry about this. And secondly, I would recommend speaking to a divorce attorney right away. Generally you can get a free consultation, or reduced price, for like $50 or something, but just remember that they're not your therapist, and if you run up the clock discussing things that would be better suited for a therapist, it could be more costly. But the main things you need to discuss with them is how to initiate the process, the basic situation, spousal infidelity, basic property that you two share, cars, debts, bank accounts, housing, etc., the jobs/income you both have, and the fact that you're pregnant from him. They can give you a good outline on what to expect and what's going to happen. From there you can make a better judgment on what your next steps should be. I can't give you an answer, but I would like you to ask yourself this. What are the benefits to confronting your husband about his infidelity? Is it really worth your time? The only possible benefit that I could ever foresee is that this could maybe give you a chance to end things amicably. But that isn't a guarantee, and it's up to you whether that even matters at all for you. Legally, you will have to send him a notice through the mail that you filed a petition for divorce that he also has to sign and respond to and send back to the court. So eventually he'll find out. I'd argue that your husband wants that satisfaction to some extent too. Part of the allure, to some at least, of cheating in this long-term fashion and engaging in such a deep betrayal is being able to revel in the psychodrama, the thrill of sneaking around, the threat of being caught and exposed, the on-the-spot lies, juggling a double life. You confronting him in your rage where huge back and forth breaks out with the most heightened intoxicating emotions, allows him to act out a possible next chapter of that narrative. Even if he wouldn't explicitly enjoy it, it would still have value and meaning to him. Deny him that by coldly and calmly leaving, and you'll force him to confront those illusions. He's not Don Draper, his life isn't an Updike novel, he's just a sad, worthless man in an empty house. Contact an attorney to find out what your options are, and make sure you do everything legally, so it doesn't come back to bite you later. Then file and let him be surprised when he gets the papers. If you plan to keep the baby, you will need to tell him. If you plan to terminate, then you don't have to tell him anything. Keep quiet. Talk to a divorce attorney first to get your options. If you want to stay in the marriage, counseling and trust has to be rebuilt. But if it's over, stay quiet. Follow the advice of the attorney, but keep up the charade of nothing is wrong. Being pregnant may complicate the divorce. Often, the best revenge is silence. You don't need to argue with him. He may never accept any responsibility and try to blame you. Some people are good at making others feel guilty. I think the cleanest break would be to divorce in a manner that most benefits you and disappear from his life and block all communication with him. Ghosting is sometimes much more painful than direct confrontation. If you are in the US, divorce almost always favors the woman, especially if children are involved. I think the most difficult part of this will be the child. The child will be a constant reminder of your husband, but please give him or her the same love that any child deserves. Don't let him use the child as a way to keep you together. Those relationships are often miserable. Hell no, don't confront him yet. Get to a divorce lawyer immediately, take whatever steps you can to protect yourself and assets, give him as little indication possible that something is wrong. Once you have your legal ducks in a row, serve him with divorce papers, with printouts of the texts on the side. Don't have to really confront him or blow up and have an argument. Do you even want to have a child with him at this point? Answer that questions or yourself and take according action before serving him divorce papers.